What's happening, everybody? It's Sean with Reactions to the Classics, and today we got another Bright Eyes reaction brought to us by a friend, longtime supporter, and big-time fan of Bright Eyes, Caitlin. Thank you, Caitlin. Appreciate you. Appreciate all the patrons who support this channel. We could not do it without them. We put up content every single day. That is a lot of hours spent. If you'd like to support us in any way, check out the Patreon link below or the Patreon link on the end screen. Now, last month we did I'm Wide Awake, It's Morning, which was just absolutely fantastic. So today, it's Digital Ash in the Digital Urn, released on the same exact day. Let's do a little history of Bright Eyes for you if you don't know who they are. They're an American indie rock band founded by singer-songwriter and guitarist Conor Oberst. It consists of Oberst, multi-instrumentalist and producer Mike Mogis, arranger, composer, and trumpet and piano player Nate Walcott, and a rotating lineup of collaborators drawn primarily from Omaha, Nebraska's indie music scene, my hometown, although I moved when I was 12. Between 1998 and 2011, the band's albums were released through Saddle Creek Records, a Nebraska label founded by Justin Oberst, Conor's brother, and Mike Mogis. Let's get to this album. It's their 7th studio album, although like I said, it's Wide Awake. I'm Wide Awake, It's Morning was the same day, so that's number 6 and 7. Released on January 25th, 2005. It peaked at 15 in the US, 43 in the UK. In contrast to the acoustic nature of I'm Wide Awake, this one is more electronic. Upon its release in 2005, the singles Take It Easy, Love Nothing from Digital Ash and the Digital Urn, and Lua, what a song. What a song. From the album I'm Wide Awake, It's Morning debuted in the top 2 slots on the Billboard Hot 100 single sales chart, which is very, very difficult to do. The album features contributions from the Yeah Yeah Yeahs' Nick Zinner and the Postal Service's Jimmy Tamborello. I'm Wide Awake, It's Morning, and Digital Ash and Digital Urn are the first Bright Eyes albums on which Conor Oberst, Mike Mogis, and Nate Walcott became the 3 permanent members of Bright Eyes. So just a reminder, the music will not be in the video, but it will be at a Vimeo link below. I invite you and encourage you to follow along with me. Let's jump into this thing. We're going to start out with Time Code, as you see below. I don't have a lot on any of these songs, so we'll just kind of let them unfold, and we'll break them down from there. I'm going to have the lyrics up, as always. Thanks again, Caitlin. All right, Time Code. Now, I imagine this blends right into the next song, and I almost let it roll, but I mean, there's really not much to talk about on this song. It's one of those things that I've noticed Conor does in the start of a lot of the albums. He builds this soundscape. It couldn't be more different, right, than I'm Wide Awake, It's Morning. And I think, I mean, that's good. You know, it's a different kind of sound. I absolutely loved I'm Wide Awake, It's Morning. Critics absolutely loved it. Critics were not so favorable to this album. They didn't hate it by any means, and there's some critics that did like it. They just weren't so favorable because it's not, you can already tell it's not nearly as accessible. That doesn't mean it's not as good. So just 2 minutes, 9 seconds of different sounds, and then you get the death, date entry, anthill law, encoded arc, our common cause, drink liquid clocks till I see God, crystal display, can't turn it off, shh, 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 don't talk, don't talk. And at the very end, you get the alarm clock going off. So he's building a soundscape and he's building a theme. So let's just jump in to the second song, Gold Mine Gutted. Gold Mine Gutted kind of makes Time Code make a little more sense because it's about he's singing to his former lover, right? And time kind of just went so quick, and the good memories that they had, yet those drugs came into play. You were a stroke of good luck. You were a stroke of luck. We were a gold mine, and they gutted us, the drugs, the drug dealers. And from the sidelines, you see me run until I'm out of breath, living the good life I left for dead. The sorrowful Midwest, well, I did my best to keep my head. And then some more memories and kind of melancholy. He said, let's have a nice clean cut, like a bag we buy and divvy up. And then the last chorus tells you that things have changed, right? And from the sidelines, I see you run. So in the first one, she was seeing him run. Now he's seeing her run until you're out of breath. And all those white lines that sped us up, we hurry to our death. Well, I lagged behind, so you got ahead. So I'm thinking that maybe she's still in that lifestyle. Conor got out, but he's watching her just go down from a distance, which is a very difficult thing to do when you watch someone you care about just spiral out of control. I thought the instrumentation was great. I really like that song. You had Conor on the keyboards and Wurlitzer adding that great soundscape in there. That was a really, really good one. And you see, we got the third track, Arc of Time, but you also have Time Code in parentheses, which is the title of the first song. So some sort of connection here. Arc of Time. I thought there was great interplay on this from a fantastic guitar work along with the drum machine, an acoustic guitar work and a drum machine, which normally you wouldn't think would work. I'm not always a huge fan of drum machines. I mean, they're highly effective and I like them in some things, but you wouldn't think this would work, but it actually worked quite well, and very serious lyricism on here. You can make a plan, you carve it into stone like a feather falling, it's still unknown until the clock speaks up. Say it's time to go. You could choose the high or the lower road. So this is all about the dying, right? And the afterlife that is to come, like it's going to come, like it just gets there basically inevitably, whether, you know, and he mentions Jesus Christ, but inevitably whether you believe in Jesus, you're going to die either way, right? It's kind of a belief of what happens after that. But some great lyricism in here, but the music really, really worked, the arrangement. I thought it all worked really well. Now we'll go to the 4th track, Down in a Rabbit Hole. Down in a Rabbit Hole. A little bit too, this song's good. It just has a little bit too much going on for me, but I get it because of the subject matter. The subject matter is with this girl, and she's down in a rabbit hole, right? We've learned later on in the song they're freebasing cocaine, and she is gone, right, into the mental drop-off, you know, whether it's permanent mental illness or just a high that she can't quite get out of. So really good lyricism. There's really good lyricism throughout this album. And I haven't mentioned enough. I hammered it on I'm Wide Awake. It's morning, but still really good lyricism here. And all these songs have worked for me thus far. Even this one works for me because there were some interesting like contrasts of instruments, but then I thought I got to be a little bit too much, but I get what he's trying to do here. Now up to the 5th track, Take It Easy, Love Nothing. It, along with Woo, as I mentioned earlier, took the top 2 spots on Billboard's Hot Singles chart, something that had not been accomplished by one artist since 1997. And this also features drum programming from Jimmy Tamborello from the Postal Service. Take It Easy, in parentheses, Love Nothing. And I know why that in parentheses is in there now. What a great song, man. I thought the instrumentation was fantastic. The lyrics were great. Basically, he gets in a relationship with a friend of his, and then she ends up leaving him, left by the lamp right next to the bed on a cartoon cat pad. She's scratched with a pen, so I imagine like a Hello Kitty. He just doesn't say. She said, everything as it's always been. This never happened. So you're still friends, right? But she's just totally, you know, let's just be friends, which is one of the worst disses you can get. Don't take it too bad. It's nothing you did. It's just once something dies, you can't make it live. You're a beautiful boy. You're a sweet little kid, but I'm a woman. So then he says, so I laid back down, wrapped myself up in the sheet, and I must have looked like a ghost because something frightened me. And since then, I've been so good at vanishing. So it gives you a little insight into what the rest of the song is going to be about, right? Because his future relationships, he was close to her, got really hurt. He's not going to let that happen again. Now I do as I please. I lie through my teeth. Someone might get hurt, but it won't be me. I should probably feel cheap, but I just feel free and a little bit empty. No, it isn't so hard to get close to me. There will be no arguments. We will always agree. And I'll try and be kind when I ask you to leave. We'll both take it easy. So, yeah, I mean, fantastic stuff. Now, let's hit the switch. Hit the switch. Has some tie-ins lyrically with Take It Easy, right? As Connor's kind of going down the same road. He's talking about how he's just drunk, and he's in the first verse, right? He's drunk. He's just kind of drowning his sorrows, and my eyes have turned red as spotlights. You seem ready to walk. He's talking to someone, you know I'll call you eventually when I want to talk. Till then, you're invisible. So building that theme of like, look, man, I don't care about you. Because there's a switch that gets hit and it all stops making sense in the middle of drinks. Maybe the 5th or the 6th. I'm completely alone at a table of friends. I feel nothing for them. I feel nothing. So I really do think it builds on the last song. Verse 2, he's going to go visit a lady friend out west, she said anytime. He said, I'm so ungrateful. I take, she gives and forgives, and I keep forgetting it. And then this chorus, and each morning she wakes with a dream to describe something lovely that bloomed in her beautiful mind. I said, I'll trade you one for 2 nightmares of mine. I have somewhere I die. I have somewhere we all die. And then he said, I'm thinking of quitting drinking again, talking about how he's throwing up and, you know, he's feeling horrible. But in the next chorus, night rolls around, it all starts making sense, and he repeats that self-destructive process. So just a really good song, again, that gets us to the halfway point of this album. Now we're going to be up to I Believe in Symmetry. I Believe in Symmetry. A good track, man. He's kind of talking once again about the theme is death, right? How don't be scared of death because it gives you that peace. He says some plans were made and rice was thrown, a house was built, a baby born. How time can move both fast and slow amazes me. Right? And I think that's the way it works in life. The older we get, the faster time goes. It doesn't really, but it seems that way. So I raise my glass to symmetry, to its second hand and its accuracy, to the actual size of everything. The desert is the sand. And it won't bow to your demands. There's no difference you can make. And if it seems like an accident and a collage of senselessness, you aren't looking hard enough. I wasn't looking hard enough at it. Way. things are meant to be the way they're meant to be, depending on your spiritual beliefs. I can put God's will is what it is, or you can just believe that the universe it works things out for its own good, wherever you fall on that. I just got myself to blame, leave everything up to fate when there's choices I can make. My heart needs a polygraph, so I thought that was interesting. Always so eager to pack my bags when I really want to stay. So still fighting that. I don't know what I want, right? I might care about this person, but I got burned, and I just got to keep everybody at a distance. And we get the arc of time, so we get a little revisiting of a former track. Each one wanting the next to arrive. An argument for consciousness. And he puts that's faith. There's happiness in death. You give to the next one, you give to the next one down the line. So the peace of when you die. So he's revisited this a few times, and I have a feeling he might revisit it some more. So that was a good track. I thought it advanced the story lyrically. Now we go to Devil in the Details. Devil in the Details. Shout out to Nick Zenner and Andy LeMaster for the wonderful guitar work on this. The guitar was basically mimicking the chorus and the music, which is very difficult to do, and man, it sounded great. The keys on here, they were coming in, pounding in on each word that Connor was saying was very well arranged as well. I mean, this is almost a thematic album as it goes along, right? Devil in the Details. He's talking about the fact that he's at this point in this relationship with this girl where it could go either way. And he can't decide if the feelings he has for her is real or just an illusion. And he knows whatever he decides to do next is going to seal the fate of this relationship. And he just doesn't even know. He says at the end, it's just one day I fell asleep, and now all day, all night I dream. I'm the first one I deceive. If I can make myself believe, the rest is easy. So he's just lost, man. I think it goes back to the lost relationship and the girl that messed him over. So a really good songwriting advancing of the story. Now let's go to Ship in a Bottle. Ship in a Bottle, very experimental in the middle of that track. The last track had a harp, and this one had a bunch of electronica in the middle of it. I don't think it was horrible. I think that the electronica works somewhat in there. And he's singing to this girl, right? And at first I'm thinking they got a broken relationship, and at the end I figure out that, that maybe that he cared about her and she didn't care about him. At the end we realize she didn't even know who he is. I want to be the surgeon that cuts you open, that fixes all of life's mistakes. I want to be the house that you were raised in, the only place that you feel safe. I want to be in the shower in the morning. I want to be a shower in the morning that wakes you up and makes you clean. I know I'm just the weather against your window as you sleep through a winter's dream. So he's talking about all of this stuff. Then don't adore what is impossible. We have built this ship in a wine bottle, but if you knew how it worked, we'd have to grow old. The last verse, don't you love what is intangible? I built a ship in a wine bottle. But if you knew who I was, you would never grow old. So a little twist there at the end. Once again, great lyricism. Got 3 tracks left. We're going to Light Pollution. Light Pollution, what a fantastic song. I think Connor's voice sounds great in there. Love the instrumentation, great guitar and drumming work. More of a rocker. He talks about John A. Hobson was a good man. I mean, just kind of a throw-in one. That guy was a British economist, died in 1940. So he says he used to loan me books and mic stands, which he didn't. Listening to records in his basement, old folk songs about the government. It's love of money, not the market, he said. These efforts push on you, and freedom yells, it don't cry. Whatever sells will decide, but there's no hell when you die, so don't look worried. Then he's talking about this guy. He got a nightlife, lost his job, pushing paper, swinging pendulums. So he ends up being kind of homeless. You got to earn this living somehow. You're as good as dead without a bank account. But it's funny how alive he felt down in that unemployment when I thought the pressure's right. So just a commentary on this world that pushes us to get more, right? And we never are satisfied. We never really enjoy our lives if we get stuck or caught up in that way of life. I realize you got to have money to live, but there's a line between I got to make a living and I covet everything, but every time I get what I really wanted, it doesn't satisfy me, so I want more and more. You get in this circle of just never being happy. And towards the end, drove out through the crowd and the cops, drove out past that center mall, drove out past that sickening sprawl, out past that fenced in grove, and maybe he lost control, effing with the radio. So maybe he wrecked, so he could either, these next line, he could be dead, or I think he got out of town. Because light pollution, if you don't know what light pollution, if you live in a really big city, I live in a very big city. I live in a suburb of Dallas, Texas, which is around 7 million people. You can see the stars at night, but you can't see them real well because the lights of the city kind of squash them out. So you go out to a small area where you don't have all that. The stars are so bright and so beautiful. And he said, I bet the stars seem so close at the end. So I don't know if he's dying or he's just checking it out. It's the end of the song, but man, That one was good. Now the most interesting title on here, Theme from Pinata. Theme to Pinata. It gets a little bit of hopeful here, right? You have a flute and a harp in here that adds some nice texture that I really did enjoy. There's some sort of treatment on Connor's voice as well that I thought was cool. Almost sort of a dreamlike treatment to it, a little distant type of treatment. The song itself, though, like I said, is much more hopeful. He said, well, I wish I had a parachute because I'm falling bad for you. I can see the ground approaching now, but I'm not sure what to do. I feel like a pinata. Won't you take a swing at me? If you could just crack the shell open, I think inside you would find something sweet. So maybe he's admitting that, he's so closed off, but he's falling for her. So go ahead like a pinata and hammer on him a little bit, right? Take those swings until you can get to that good part inside. So at the very end, he says, so it's hard for me imagining the flaws in this design. I know debris, it covers everything, but I'm still in love with this life. So it takes that hopeful turn that I wonder if he's going to build on in this last song. We got Easy, Lucky, Free. Okay, Easy, Lucky, Free. What a great way to end this album. As Connor waxes philosophical about death, right? Just saying all these things that kind of how the world is kind of degrading. Second verse says, I never really dreamed of heaven much until we put him in the ground, but it's all I'm doing now. So when a friend of his died, that's what he's talking about according to some stuff that I researched. But then he gets into, once the satellite's deceased, it blows like garbage through the streets of the night sky to infinity. So once a satellite's done, it just gets sent out into outer space to just like spin forever, right? And then he gets in that, but don't you weep. And then we get that little call and response, a little bit of female back in there with Maria Taylor. She was on the last track as well. There's nothing as lucky, honey, don't you weep, don't you weep. There's nothing as lucky as easy or free. So he's saying as freeing as death, right? Because you don't have all these issues. You're not worried about all these things. Then he basically says if you don't get in with society norms and you're ostracized, don't be a criminal in this police state. You better shop and eat and procreate. You've got vacation days and you might escape to a condo on the coast. I set my watch to the atomic clock. I hear the crowd count down until the bomb gets dropped. I always figured there'd be time enough. I never let it get me down. So the bomb has went off. And he's seeing his friends and he's saying they're all going to be away in bags as dead as leaves, all together for eternity, but don't you weep. At the very end he says, or free. There's nothing as lucky as easy or free. And then he says, or free 3 times. And he says, there is nothing. And then you get that kind of chaotic where it sounds like it's skipping or cutting in and out to end with. But man, that was really good. Now let's go to my favorite tracks. There's 12 tracks on here. 6 of them are honorable mentions or faves. Honorable mention, Hit the Switch and Arc of Time / Time Code, the third song. Faves, Goldmine, Gutted, Take It Easy, which might have been my fave. Light Pollution, and then this last song, Easy, Lucky, Free, which might have been my fave as well. That one or Take It Easy. So now we get to my overall score. Look, I'm Wide Awake, It's Morning was my number 2 album of 2005. Not to ruin it for you, but we're doing album drafts on the channel where Trey and I each pick 5 albums, gives you a top 10 albums of the year. That was number 2. So obviously that's already gone. If it wasn't already gone, I think this would have made my top 5. This is a fantastic album. The critics were split on it. I'm not split on it, man. It's great. I'm going to be at an 8.25, just barely below of what I gave I'm Wide Awake, It's Morning. So what a fantastic choice by Caitlin. I'll tell you, before I did these last 2 albums for Caitlin, I've done some song reactions for Caitlin. I've done another one for another one of our patrons, Kelly, and I liked them. And, I liked Connor's work with Phoebe Bridgers. But, I was just like, okay, yeah, they're good. No sort of fandom or real admiration until I did these 2 albums. Wow, they are quite good. Connor is very talented, man. Super enjoyed this one. Let me know what you think of this one. What do you think of this compared to I'm Wide Awake? Give me a little compare and contrast. Which one do you like more? And just because you like one more doesn't mean you got to trash the other one. And I felt that's kind of what critics did because they were out on the same day. So they compared them to each other. And I think that's kind of where you got a little bit of the negative words for this album by some critics. So let me know what you think. Until next time, guys, I will see you.